Hello everyone to this tutorial. It's part 2 and it's the Cambridge International Examinations on Information Technology, paper 4, October-November 2018. In the first part, we looked at how to create this plate face showing the top view and the side view. In the second part, we are going to look at how to do these animations, which will involve rotating the plate whilst increasing the size and rotating it whilst decreasing it to its normal state. In the second part of the same question, we are going to look at how to stack up plates on each other and then show the text top tables. So let me read the first part of the question. It says, in a suitable application, create an animation of the plate face image spinning clockwise. So I'm highlighting the points in the center of a 200 by 200 pixel frame. The plate should grow to fill the frame during the first rotation. It should fill the frame during the first rotation and shrink to the original size during the second rotation. Each rotation should take 2 seconds. The animation should play continuously. Save the animation as an animated GIF. File named plate spin underscore center number underscore candidate number. So for this tutorial, I'm going to use the example as the file name. Okay, so let's go into our animation software. I'm using Adobe Animate CC for this tutorial. So as we were instructed, we were to change the size of the stage to 200 by 200. Can leave everything as it is, and we leave this as action script because in action script the preview is easier to execute. So I'll click on create. So we have our 200 by 200 stage. First, I'm going to create a background. So I'll select the rectangle tool and ensure that there's no stroke, but there should be a fill. I think fill of orange is, you can choose any color you like. I'm choosing the bright orange, and then go to the top corner and drag and have a rectangle. Now the first layer, which is holding my rectangle, I'll change the layer name to BG for background. Now we're going to need another layer for the plate. So insert a new layer. Rename it to plate face. So once the layer is selected, go to File, Import to Library. Okay, so this is what we saved. Top tables. Say open. So we pick the PNG file, ensuring that there is no background. And then we go to our library, and here it is. There it is. So all we need to do, once your layer is selected, your plate face layer selected, you drag and drop it in here. So realize that the size is bigger than what you have here. So what you can do to correct this is go to the properties panel and change the width and height. make sure this link is locked. So if it's like this, you just click on it once to get it this way. Now change the size to 100. Okay, to get your plate back, because we've resized it, its position has also changed. Let me reduce it so you see it's up here, but we need to align it to the center of the stage. So what we are going to do is, let me go back to fit to stage. See this align tab here, click on it once and make sure align to stage is selected and click horizontal center and then vertical center. Then your plate comes to the middle. Now the rotation is supposed to take, let's go back to the question. Let me quickly go back to the question and refer. So we are at this stage right now here. So each rotation is supposed to take 2 seconds. So it takes 2 seconds from here to this point and another 2 seconds from this point back to its original state. The animation should play continuously. Okay, we'll come to that later. And shrink the original size. Okay, so we go back to our Adobe Animate software, and we know that our total animation should last for 4 seconds. So I'm going to right click, select the BG layer, the background layer, right click on the 4-second mark and say insert frame. So it means our animation will last that long, so we will need a background to last that long as well. Now the plate is appearing on only the first frame because we haven't added any animation yet. So we are going to select the plate, right click and go to convert to symbol or F8. Then we can rename it to top tables and say OK. So now we have a symbol. Now that we have a symbol, we can add or insert a motion tween. So we say insert motion tween. And since our animation is going to last 4 seconds long, we drag it to hit the 4-second mark as well. Now at the 4-second mark, we know our plate should come back to its original state. So what we need to do is to add or insert a keyframe here, which will accommodate not only the scale, not only the size that is being reduced, but the rotation as well. So to do that, instead of selecting position, scale, or any of them, you do all. So we say insert keyframe all. Now with what we have done, we go straight into the properties panel and look for rotation. The rotation, by the time it comes to this point, it would have rotated twice. So for the rotate here, we enter the number 2 and we say enter and ensure that the direction is not on counterclockwise, which is CCW, but it's on clockwise. Okay. Now we come to the 2-second mark. As you see, as I drag my playhead, it's already done doing the rotation. I come to the 2-second mark, and this is where we need to increase the size. So I will say insert keyframe scale. Now if I select my plate once and go to the properties panel, now I can change the scale, the size, making sure that this is still locked. I can change it to say 200. It goes out of place a little bit, and you see that animate even doesn't give you the exact 200. So let's fix this by going to the align panel once again. Make sure align to stage is selected. Click on the horizontal and the vertical. Now the question says it should fill the stage as it grows. So we are going to increase the size further. To say 210. I think 210 is okay, or 2. Let me type in 210. And then let's do the alignment once again. Horizontal, vertical. Now let's have a look. So you see this time around it fills the stage as required. So at this point it fills the stage. The most important thing is at the 2-second mark it fills the stage, and at the 4-second mark it comes back to its original state. So let's test this by going to Control, Test, and this is what we have. Okay, let's go back to the question. And it says the animation should play continuously. Okay, which we have done. You can see that in the test. Save the animation as an animated GIF. File named plate spin underscore this. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the animation software, go to File, Export, and export animated GIF. It's going to take a while. Okay, so it comes. So we have our preview, save, etc. So if you check and you're okay with everything, the width and the height should be 200, which is correct. That's the correct size of the stage. Then we can click on save. And then select the appropriate folder, that the evidence folder you are supposed to create. And as I said, I'm going to use this name, the plate spin, for the file name. So I'm going to copy that and use that for the file name, and then click save. So we have created the animated GIF. So I'm going to quickly go back to that. So there we have it. Let's play it back. So we've been successful with the first part of the question, the rotation and the scale up and down, and then we are going to move on to the second part, in which we are going to stack up the plates on each other. It says, in a suitable application, create an animation using plate side images falling from the top center from the top center of a 200 by 200 frame to make a stack of 4 plates. So we are going to use the plate side file for that animation. Each plate will take 2 seconds to fall on the stack. 2 seconds highlighted. After the 4th plate reaches the stack, the text top tables must appear in the center, so it should be in the center of the remaining space and remains for 2 seconds. So it should play for 2 seconds. The text must be in red 36-point serif font. We're going to take note of that as well, and then we go to the saving aspect later. So let's go back to our animation software, and then we create a new frame or a new stage. Ensure it is 200 by 200 as it was mentioned, and then we create. Now let it fit the window, or we can increase it to 200, or let it fit the window, and then we start with the background. So I'm going to pick the rectangle tool or press R, and then I'll draw my square on the stage, and then I'll rename that layer as BG for background. Now then, next thing I need to do is to introduce my plates that we are going to animate. So I'm going to create a new layer for that, and then I'm going to go to File, Import to Library. The file we saved, the transparent background file we saved, known as plate side. So the plate side should bear your center number and your candidate number. So now when you look at the library up here, you see plate side showing in here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drag, making sure that my layer is selected. I'm going to drag and drop it onto that layer. So I'm going to change the name to plate side, and I'm going to name it _1. So we have plate side 1, and I'm going to go to my selection tool and go to the properties panel, and I'm going to resize it to 100 pixels, making sure that the link here is locked so that it takes effect. Now it has taken effect, but it has repositioned it out of our stage, so we need to bring it back to the stage. So we need to go to Align, and this time around we make sure it's aligned to stage. We align it to the top and to the center, horizontally to the center, and align to the top edge, so it's up here. Now it's going to be moving from the top to the down of the frame, so we need to add a motion tween, but before that we have to convert it to a symbol. So I right click on it and say convert to symbol. You can name it plate side, say OK. So in the library now we have plate side and the plate side PNG that you brought in. But this is a symbol and this is the PNG. Okay, so now we are going to add a motion tween. So with the plate side layer selected, we say insert motion tween. So it adds 1 second of a motion tween to our stage. Now the background itself is not that long, so we have to insert frame to accommodate at least the duration for the entire animation. So if each plate will take 2 seconds to hit the stack, and we have another 2 seconds for the text, that will be like 8 seconds plus 2, so we can estimate that our animation will last for 10 seconds. So I'll go to the 10-second mark, right click, and then I'll say insert frame. Now we have a plate side layer, which is 1 second, but the question says it's supposed to last for 2 seconds. So I'm going to hold and drag the edge to the 2-second mark. Okay, so if the plate's still at the top of the frame, I now hold and drag it down to hit the bottom of the frame, and then I have my first animation for my first plate. Okay. Now to save time, the best thing is to duplicate the plates. But as you duplicate them, we have to ensure that one is behind the other and they are on top of each other. As displayed here, it should be on top of each other. So not all the plates will completely end up on the bottom edge. So we have to make the motion in such a way that one will end up on top of each other. So I'm going to duplicate this layer. And this time around, the copy, I'm going to make the copy plate 1, and because I want the other one to be behind it, plate 2, so I choose to make this one plate 2. So plate 2 is behind plate 1 in terms of arrangement. So I duplicate plate 2, make the copy the original plate 2, and change the duplicate to plate 3. And then I duplicate plate 3, make the original plate 3, and change the last plate to plate 4. So in so doing, you have successfully arranged each plate behind the other in terms of appearance and arrangement, and they all have their 2 seconds animation. Now we are going to begin by rearranging them in terms of appearance. So I'm going to pick plate 2 and move it to the end of plate 1. So when plate 1 comes, plate 2 appears, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to do the same thing for plate 3, move it to the end of plate 2, and plate 4, move that one to the end of plate 3. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the end of the animation, which is our 10-second frame, and select the last frame of each layer whilst I hold Control. Let me do that again. Select the last frame of each plate layer once I hold Control, and then I right click, and then I say insert frame. Okay, I think I missed that one, so I'm going to do that again. Select the last frame of each layer, right click, and say insert frame. Okay, so in so doing, all our 4 plates are appearing to the end of the animation. Now we are going to reposition them. So I'm going to select the first one, click on it, plate side 1, go to properties panel, and look at the position. The position showing here, the Y position, is going to be reducing for each plate. So I make sure the playhead is on the keyframe of the first one, and then I have a look at, select it and have a look at the Y position of it. What it means is, for the Y position of the second plate, which is this one, we are going to reduce the Y position of that one. And to avoid confusion, here's a trick. So we are done with the first one, the first plate, and we select it and we know the position, which is 188.25. We go to the second one, and in this case you hide the first one so that you'll be able to select the second one, which is appearing. So you see the second plate side is selected, and it's also on 188. So we are going to reduce this to end up not on 188, but to end up on, let's say, 182. So when I bring back plate 1, you see there's a first stack. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the next plate. I'll go to the end of, which also ends up on 188, and I'm going to hide plate 1, plate 2, so that I'll be able to select it and change this one further. So we reduce the first one by 6, so we can reduce 182 by 6. So there's going to be a little calculation here. That's going to be 176. So we are going to change that to 176. Make sure the playhead, or it's on the keyframe, change it to 176. And then when we show the first 2 plates, we still have our stack going. Now we go to the last plate. So we ended up with 176 with the first one. And then now we hide the first 3 plates, select the last one, and change this to 170. Now we can make all 4 plates appear, and this is how it will end up. So if I want to test this, I go to Control and Test, and I have my plates stacking up on each other. So it's all about the positioning. Okay. So the next thing the question said is, after the 4th plate reaches the stack, the text top tables must appear in the center of the remaining space and remain for 2 seconds. The text must be in red 36.0 font. So when you look at the text, it is actually in the center of the frame, and it appears after the 4th plate drops. So we're going to go back into our animate and go to where the 4th plate drops. The 4th plate drops on this keyframe at this point. That's on the 8-second mark. So we are going to add a new layer on top of all of them and pick my type tool, and I pick a serif font. Serif fonts are fonts that have extensions at the end, like Times New Roman, like Trajan. We have Unisans. They all have, some of them have. Those without extensions are sans serif fonts. So that's the difference. So this is a serif font. The size should be 36 and the color should be red. So I'm picking red and I'm going to start typing. Top tables. You have to make sure you get the spelling right, else you lose marks. Okay, so with this selected, I can go to align and align it to the center. So with the text aligned to the center, we can now think of how to reduce its time to 2 seconds as is required. It says it must appear in the center and remain for 2 seconds. So we go back to our animate, and at the moment, because we've been working in the 10-second frame throughout, the layer has assigned 10 seconds to top tables. So to do that, to reduce that, we can select top tables, and note that we are not going to add any motion tween to the text or break apart or etc., because it's not going to have any special effects or animation. It is just going to appear. You should note that when you have not been asked to animate an object or a text, you shouldn't do so unless you've been asked to do so. So we are going to reduce the time of its appearance to 2 seconds. So to do that, whilst the text is selected, we can come to the edge of the layer and drag it down till we get to the 2-second mark. It's somewhere here. Yes. So still with the layer selected in blue, we can drag and hold the whole thing and bring it to the 8-second mark. So we are sure that now both where the layer should appear and the end of the last plate are in line. So we can now test our animation by going to Control and going to test, or by pressing Control and Enter on your keyboard. So let's go to the last stages of the question, which is we should save the animation as an animated GIF, file named plate drop, center number, candidate number. So you are supposed to provide your center number and your candidate number underscored after plate drop. For this tutorial, I'm going to use this name here just for the sake of the tutorial. Type this as your file name. Provide your center number and your candidate number. Okay, so we are going to go into File, Export Animated GIF. So just as we did for the first part, we click on Save, and this time around we have the split spin already there. I'm going to copy this name, plate drop, and then paste that as my file name, and then save. So when we go and check from our folder, once again, I want to thank you for watching this tutorial. Remember to like and subscribe to MBA Creates so that I can be churning out more of these videos. If you have any comments or questions or suggestions, you can place them in the comment section. Till we meet in our next video, it's bye.